Yes, Carl Irwin, representing Ireland and reporting from day four of the WAGC in Shenzhen. Just back at lunchtime here after the game this morning. So I was paired against Canada, a six-stand player, and we'll have a look at that in just a second. I think one thing I was reflecting on as well is like even going up to the hall in the morning, you'll see in the elevator they've put little stickers indicating what floor we're on, and also out along the street. There's loads of volunteers holding up signs giving us directions to the hall for the competition as well. Like they've been exceptionally generous and kind hosts, I would say as well. And there's been a lot of attention to detail. You see the nice go board outside the main center for the competition games. And even when you come in there, there's a nice little tree, and it's all done very ornately. I think they've probably got a better chance of doing that in the south of China than up in the north. Maybe there's a sort of a stereotype, which is the northerners are a bit more rough around the edges than the southerners. Particularly whenever you look at, for example, Chinese cuisine, that's abundantly clear as well. Particularly if you go up to Dongbei, the cold area in China, lots of big stews and just sort of putting meat in a pot for a long period of time. Whereas down south, a lot more attention to detail and intricacy as well. So again, I was pretty psyched for my game today against Canada. I was black. Let's have a look at that directly. Then I'll not say anything just yet. Then okay, cool. Morning. You could see on the graph here. Then it was quite a heatedly contested match as well. So again, I'm so far I would say whilst I might subjectively feel disappointed, I think objectively there's been nothing that disappointing about how everything's gone. So I was black, and you can look at the win rate graph or the point graph. Obviously green for the win rate, and then blue for the actual score difference. You can look at that if you want, or you can just follow me in the game here. So followed up with this standard opening. And for some reason as well, I kind of expected in this game that White wasn't going to answer here, and just came back to this corner, and sure enough did the high approach. And I was debating, I know what the computer's going to like here. I was tempted to play this move and just follow through with this kind of variation. But I thought, I've got a little bit of preparation for this Juseki, so I thought, well, let's go for it. Let's try something a little bit different then, and see if I can get my opponent into my opening book then. And sure enough, that happened in the game, so I was quite happy. So I think it was for the first Juseki. My opponent used about 10 minutes, and I think I'd used about 20 seconds because I'm very familiar with this opening here. The point is, it's slightly different from the old Juseki. So when I play here, there is a ladder. But the ladder is good for White, but I'm not worried because here then I've got this ladder breaker, which is quite nice. It's weird as well. If you look at the computer's recommended move, the computer likes this move. To make the ladder work again, which is not very intuitive for most human players. The point here is, even though this is roughly even with this variation here, but my opponent doesn't know that, and if they're not familiar with it, it's likely to be a little bit offsetting for them as well. And sure enough, I think that strategy worked. So in the game, he just captured, I press up here, and then he played the slightly strange move of jumping one, so I just, what do you call that? Clamped him in the corner, and then he played that, and then I just came back and took the corner there as well. I expected my opponent to finish off in the corner and Atari him there to see what my response was, but he didn't. He came down to the corner here. So I decided to play this. It's interesting. My move is 1 point worse. Apparently I should just capture the stone here nice and cleanly. With hindsight, definitely that's much more sensible. But anyway, a lesson learned for the future. So my opponent played down here the pincer, and because obviously he's got the large knight's move in the corner here, that obviously holds the corner not as effectively, so I just jumped into the corner here as well. And I'm not worried about him getting too thick because I've kind of got half, even though it's a soft head here, but I've kind of got my stones out in the middle a little bit as well. So I just jumped into the corner, and then he turned at this, and then connected directly then, so threatening to attack me. And this again, I think I spent about 5 minutes in this move. I think I considered the Kusumi, and I considered this bump here. I even considered this one as well, but I just thought, should I just get my head out and get into the middle, because I feel I've already got 4 corners at the moment. Well, obviously this one here has not been settled yet, so I thought I should head towards the center. But lesson learned, the Kusumi is probably the most sensible thing to play here. I suppose the reason why the jump's not good is because I still have some weaknesses in my shape here. But anyway, lesson learned for the future. So White returned here. I just captured Atari, and then White has to connect, and then I returned. Oh, that's interesting. Why do I say it's interesting? Because the computer that the the organizers were using. So today's games were all broadcast, and the AI they were using didn't like my move here as much. But actually, what's interesting is my AI is saying that my move that I went for was the top choice. So I'm quite happy with that then. Yeah, so I just went for this one here. And I was quite surprised then whenever white took Sente here. I was expecting white to do something down at the bottom here. And white took Sente. Apparently my move is not that reasonable. I think the point is that because of my weaknesses in my shape, this move here, coming over with the large knight enclosure, is not severe enough. So you can see here the computer's recommending that I just come back up here. Obviously, if this move here, if I could capture the bottom with another single move, that would be wonderful. But obviously I'm a little bit thin here, because ultimately these two stones here, and even this in the left, have both got weaknesses. So coming over here, and then white bumping here. And again, I was thinking here for quite a while. I thought about this variation, but I was worried about, there was a ko, and I was thinking if we do have a ko as well, white's got some huge ko threats in the bottom right hand corner. So I thought, just keep it simple. I was still quite happy at this moment, because I've got, 3 large corners, and then this group already here is potentially weak. So I thought, I've got the initiative, which is quite nice. So I was feeling comfortable at least. And then white's next move was surprising, but apparently my move was bad. The computer just wants me to fix my shape and wedge into his, which is... I'm going to have to go back and think about that, because again, this is against my intuition. I suppose the point here is when I hane on the top, white wedges. I think that's the key thing in this shape. Normally the wedge from both sides is a crucial point here, because it's going to dictate the number of cutting points, or who has the cutting points. So I haned, and then white wedged immediately, connected, and then white's next move as well, the computer didn't like. White haned here. And I still need to go and think about this one deeply as well. The computer wants me to connect here, but this Atari is just something that I'm not used to letting my opponent get in. But I think the computer is emphasizing the thickness of my grip, and there's some complicated fighting on the left-hand side as well. I suppose the key point is here, yeah, the computer wants white just to cut me directly. And I suppose having a weak grip then, white's going to have a little bit more initiative. So white just extended here, and then well, that's interesting as well. The computer wants me to fix my cut with this move. I suppose because it's more secure. So I did the shoulder hit here to fix my cut, and then I jumped out here as well, which the computer seems reasonable. And again, I was feeling quite comfortable at this point, because again, white's got a weak group. I've got lots of points. I'm potentially coming in on the left-hand side here to destroy white's territory. So it was feeling pretty good at the time. And sure enough, if you look at the points here, I've got a win rate of nearly 80%, and then I'm in the lead by 3 points. But obviously 3 points at this stage is nothing. The important thing is that I feel comfortable about the game I'm playing, and I'm enjoying it. Because if I enjoy the game, then everything is more likely to be going smoothly. And again, it's interesting here as well. I reflected on this, and I understand my mistake here. I suppose at the point when white plays here, these two stones are really small at the moment. There's a nice expression. The Chinese say they're a little bit dry, as in they've got no moisture or no meat to them. So I should probably just come here immediately, because the second I play this then, white's next move, the 3 stones now are a little bit heavier, and white's got a much bigger threat then. So lesson learned, yeah, I should obviously just at this point have come straight back here. Again, I was looking at some of these moves, but I was really worried about complicated fighting and myself getting into trouble, but I maybe should have... Again, I felt like I had a small advantage, so I was reluctant to play too aggressively and potentially lose that. There's a nice expression in Chinese, which is those that are barefooted are not afraid of those that are wearing leather shoes. In the sense that obviously you've got nothing to get dirty if you're barefooted, but obviously if you're wearing your nice shoes, then you are. So I think already at this point I was being a little bit precious about my position, when obviously that's not the right attitude to take. So here I thought just play thickly, because obviously I think by getting thick here as well, white's still not alive, and then I'm already thinking, well, this group here, even though it's reasonably thick, but I can maybe put some pressure on it then. So when I play this, caught me slightly off guard, this move, but I realized it's not a big deal, and we both were playing pretty close to optimal here, connecting. White played this, and this is where apparently I've got one of my first big the win rate jumps a lot here. It's quite interesting, but it's only 2 points, I suppose. I thought it didn't matter if I let white cut me, so I pushed along the side here, but apparently that's not coming out fast enough. And I suppose with hindsight as well, when I play here, white gets a nice hane, and white's head is a little bit higher and in front, and white's shape in general is quite comfortable. And again, the computer just wants me to... This is strange. I don't really understand this. Okay, just jumping out directly. That's quite interesting. And then I took Sente here. So obviously I'm playing this move, thinking of the next move here, coming up for the Keima then, to threaten this whole group. And obviously, because again, if I can get my hands on one of white's grips and, you know, get a leash around it, and then maybe surround some points, that would be lovely. But obviously my grip now on the left now has got some weakness, so white played this hane. The computer still wants me just to connect here directly. I suppose that makes sense. I suppose I've got just as many eyes as in the game. Yeah, that would be a lot more sensible. I was maybe a little bit silly, because I was thinking here already, if white wants to cut me, then when I capture the stone here, I've now got to jump in, and white's not necessarily completely alive. But that's, I think that's daydreaming, to be honest. I was a little bit, it's not being particularly realistic. And then, yeah, when I came out here then, just tried to fix my shape immediately, so pushing up and then haning, which is interesting, the computer doesn't want me to do that. And then at this point, I was really surprised by white's move here, because obviously these three stones now, they're not keystones anymore, because obviously my focus is on this group here and on this group on the right here. So I was quite relieved when I saw that, and I just played the bamboo joint here, and white came into the middle. So my head's coming out a lot more quickly. And sure enough, I think if we look here, yeah, you can see white wants... the computer wants white to just go for my shape immediately and cause me some problems, and this would obviously be much more uncomfortable. So what should I have done shape-wise? So yeah, so the computer just wants me to play this shape point here, which is interesting. Okay, lesson learned. So I came out here, jump, and black's got his head out. And then I was still feeling okay at this point here, and okay, a 1 point lead, but in terms of the pace of the game, I'm feeling quite happy. But obviously now, white's made a lot of points on the left-hand side then, so I've maybe got a little bit more pressure than I did a minute ago. And again, white here just taking Sente and coming back to the middle here, which I thought was quite bold. So obviously I just lean on this group. I was quite happy when I got to do this, because obviously I'm not worried about making white a little bit thick here, because I've got my thickness here. So this is a nice direction to get my head out in, just extending. And then white jumped in here. And so I thought white was being a bit cheeky here. Like, I feel like this group already is beginning to feel a little bit thin. But white, you know, just went, okay, attack me. What are you going to do about it? And sure enough, in the end, I ended up not being too successful in what I got out here. So again, I just wanted to go for thick and prepare for a big attack then. So white jumped into the corner here. Then just playing a relatively standard sequence. And the computer now wants me to be very aggressive here and come in just on the shoulder hit almost. So this was I was a bit of a dilemma here in terms of what I was supposed to do. So I just ended up pushing up. I thought I would secure this group and then see what white does. White plays this. I peep, coming into the center. I think this is another key point as well. So already white's still in a little bit danger. It says black's got about a 5 point lead. So obviously I'm attacking this group, and I'm thinking at the moment, okay, is there a direction I can attack in that I can get some points at the same time? Because obviously I'm still at this point somewhat reluctant to go all in for blood at this point. So actually it's interesting because computer likes this move, and then is it the peep as well? Oh no, cutting! Wow, that's interesting. I didn't think. Yeah, obviously that's interesting after the game, because that's obviously something I should have thought of there. That's very interesting. But then I'm noticing, I'll have another look at that later on. Okay. So I played this, again, trying to keep white divided, and then thinking about obviously maybe attacking this group in a second. So white could see that there were some problems here with their shape, so they just jump out. And then I got the top move here, so I pressed up, trying to obviously key point for eye shape. White wedges. So there's a lot of Ataris here and a lot of Agi. So obviously in this position here, the only problem with playing this move is I feel like I've psychologically got a little bit more pressure on me now, because I've got to be wary of, you know, we've got cutting directly, we've got moves like attaching here, cutting, or maybe just handing directly. So I was a bit reluctant to do this, but again, it's the optimal shape in terms of destroying white's eye shape. So then pushing on top is fine, and then this is interesting shape as well. Look what the computer wants me to do. The computer just wants this move here, which is super interesting. So just what is it, a jade pillar? Nice shape, and then it's going to be difficult for white to get their head out. So my next move lost me apparently 4 points here. So I played this. So again, you could see with hindsight, I suppose, this is the direction White wants to come in here. I was a bit more worried about Agi here and White maybe jumping out, but apparently that was unnecessary. We'll see. So I played here, and I was already starting to feel like my attack was losing a little bit of steam. Because when White played here, in fact, in the game I knew this. I knew that pressing here wasn't going to be Sente, but I was like, oh, it's a thick move. Let's just play it. Just very lukewarm and disappointing. And sure enough, after I played this, you could see we're very close to being an even game at the moment as well. Black's just got a negligible lead. White turned here, and then I just wanted to stay connected, keep it simple. Because at least now when I've got the connection or the implicit connection here, I'm not worried about White coming out here. And again, I suppose the key problem was actually at this point in the game already, I think I was in Byoyomi. So 30 seconds per move here. So a little bit rushed. And my opponent still had, I think, around 10 minutes on their clock. Okay. And this was silly. Like, this is after the game. This is so obvious that this is the move I want to play. Because again, securing the connection and forcing White to come here. And it's interesting. I think yeah. So the key thing here is I missed move 3 here of just handying down directly. But again, I'm not quite sure if it's okay if White just captured these stones, but the computer seems to think so. And White apparently shouldn't answer me here. White, again, should just come straight into the... Do what? Yeah, straight into the middle here and peep at this. So at this point here, it's sort of become even. But I was beginning to feel a bit knackered here because I felt like I had a very promising attack, and I now feel like I've got a much less promising attack going on my opponent. So I'm already sort of, my morale has been harmed a little bit, but I know that it's still really complicated, so it's super important that I keep my attention about me in case my opponent does anything that's going to be punishable. Because the bottom line is this group's in theory still not alive, and this group here is in theory still not alive, so keep going. So I pushed through here as well. So when White, before connecting these, I thought I would see how White was planning on dealing with the connection here in the middle then. And so White pushes through, I push through, White blocks, and I peep. White connects, no problems there. And then, what did I do? Yeah, so I was running out of time, and I thought I'll threaten here and see what White does. White returned, thankfully, for a move, and then I come up here, trying to keep White separated then, so by leaning on these stones. And again, I was kind of thinking, oh, maybe I've got a backup plan where I can just surround some points here and that'll be sufficient, but that's a little bit naive. Again, I think at this point, unless I draw some blood, I'm not going to have enough points to finish up the game, which is indeed what happened. So White pushed through, and then captured this stone, so taking all the points. And then this I suppose is the beginning of the losing moves here. So at this point then, I was still thinking of coming in and removing White's eyes, and I was thinking, and then also worried a little bit about White pushing through eventually and there being a cut here. So I thought I would wedge in, but it's bad for my liberties, and White's obviously got a lot of play in the middle here. So White comes here, and the computer hates my next move. So I dropped by another 7. Oh, sorry. I played down at the bottom first, because again, Byoyomi, so I made an exchange here, so I had time to think about the top. And then White's not playing too well either, but again, the computer just wants me to connect here. And apparently, I might still have chance. No, White's. I don't. I think at this point here, it's already lost, and you can see. I think I'm spent. This ko already, I can see I've got no way of fighting it. So I just connect. But then there's another ko then for my life is whole. And White's got loads of ko threats along here, so I'm in a bit of trouble. I had a couple of nice local ko threats that I could use. Obviously this here, White should probably just have connected. White pushes here, then take the ko. Connecting here, throw in. And then eventually, when White comes here and cuts in the middle, I feel like I've got nothing. I've got no other big ko threats that I can play. The computer still wants me to squirm for a while. Apparently I can play this move here. Okay, so there was one local ko threat left, but at this point here, I'm sort of I missed that I've got this ko threat as well. So I just gave up the ko. I just took the ko, and then White plays at the middle here. So at this point here, the game's essentially over, unfortunately. After this has been taken, White has way too many points, and is alive everywhere, obviously. So White's captured my stones, and both of the groups that I were attacking are alive now. Wonderful. Okay, so I suppose now, yeah. Draw for this afternoon is in as well. Last match against France. So lots of pressure. Can I get my 4 wins? We'll see. So I think it's going to be all in. Maybe 2 cans of Red Bull for this afternoon. I'm not sure. I'll not drink it all at the beginning of the match anyway. The player's 4 down, so should be opportunities again. Like again, I've played well against 2-6 stands. It's only 4 down. It'll be fine. So we'll see how it goes, and I'll catch you guys tonight then for my last evening in Shenzhen before heading back tomorrow then. So hopefully I'll have some good news in a little bit as well then.